In this video, we'll go over a factoring challenge, and instead of having a quadratic equation, meaning that this is the second power, here we're going to go to a cubic, so this is a third power. This looks kind of scary, so our goal is to find which solutions for x work here. Now in general, when you see something like this, whether it's a third power, fourth power, higher, you want to run and basically cry. No, I'm kidding. You want to maybe use a calculator, or you probably don't want to use it by hand. Now for certain problems, such as the one I've designed here, there'll be nice things you can do. So this is just to show you a technique, but keep in mind, if you were to change these numbers around, it's not usually going to work. All right, so our first step is to try to get out of a cubic equation because this looks really scary. So what we're going to do is something we don't normally do, which is let's try to guess an answer. So can you find a value for x that makes this 0? Well, if you try 0, you're going to have these are nothing, and that's -6, so that doesn't work. Let's try 1. So that would be 1 minus, because all the powers don't matter. So 1 cubed is 1, 1 squared is 1. 1 minus 6 plus 11 minus 6, that happens to be 0. So that tells us that x equals 1 is one of the solutions. Now in general, this is a little beyond the scope of this, but since this is a cubic equation, we should expect to have at most 3 solutions. Whatever the highest powers, you can have at most that many. So that means there's still 2 solutions we're missing. Now, what are we going to do? We are going to do division. So since we found one answer, that means x minus 1 times some other expression is going to get us this left side over here. So our job is to figure out what is this remaining thing, so then we can further break this down. Now, how are we going to do that? We're going to do regular division, but with algebra. So here's our x cubed. Okay, so that's our original expression. X minus 1. Now, why am I writing x minus 1, not just 1? Because since 1 works, then x minus 1 as an expression must go into this. So we're trying to find what are the others. Are the others like x plus 2 and x plus 3? What are the other 2 pieces? So let's divide this. Now the way we're going to divide this is the way you do normal division. Let's go to the highest power. So x cubed divided by x is going to give us x squared. Now we have to multiply x squared by the entire term here. So that's x cubed minus x squared, and we're subtracting that off, so don't forget the minus minus. So minus minus is plus, so that means we're left with minus 5x squared plus 11x minus 6. Now, what's negative 5x squared divided by the leading term here, which is x? That's negative 5x. Now we multiplied back in, so it's very similar to normal division. Multiply this back in. Negative 5x times negative 1 is positive 5x. So remember, we're subtracting, so these are gone. That's a minus, so we're going to have 6x, and that negative 6 drops down. Now this is very good for us because this goes in evenly into here. Let's just say for a moment this were a 5. That means this does not go into evenly into here, and so therefore that's not part of the breakdown of this expression. So in other words, this makes sense that this would go evenly because we found one of the solutions. So now we're going to do a plus 6, because 6 times x minus 1 would give us the same thing, and so the remainder is 0, which is great. So that means that x minus 1 times this thing gives us that. Now, why is this better for us? Because now we're down to a second degree, and we've already seen how to factor second degree or quadratic equations that are easy. So here we could say, okay, what does this factor into? Which 2 numbers multiply to 6 and add up to negative 5? Well, you can try 2 and 3, but that's positive 5, so it's negative 2 and negative 3. So if you multiply this out, if you expand, you should get this. So that's x squared, negative 2x, negative 3x, that's negative 5x. Negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. All right, so that means our original problem becomes this. And here it's much easier to see which values would work than over here. So this is sort of like the DNA. We can see, well, 1 works, which we've guessed in the beginning, 2 works, and 3 works. So those are your 3 solutions. So in general, let's recap. We guessed a solution that got us down to a quadratic. How do we get this? By doing long division on these algebraic expressions. And from there, we were able to factor this as normal. So the main new technique, I guess, is the guessing, but also the division of one polynomial by another polynomial. All right, guys.